spoke of this separation, or you sort of said that you separate from the body. Are you talking about people who, in effect, live in their heads as opposed to living out in the real world, that sort of thing?
Well, yes, it might. The distinction might be much smaller than that, but that is certainly a place to live. The person for whom their world is controlled by that little voice in the back of their head, their actions are controlled by that, by thought. I'm totally serious. Welcome. Good.
You say there's a subtler distinction? I described something that perhaps applies to me. Is there a subtler distinction you can make?
Well, I don't know if there is. I don't know if it's necessary. What is the one that you drew for yourself?
Most of the time I am aware of the thoughts in my head going round and round and round, and dragging me into the past, dragging me into the future, anywhere but now.
Did you drop, or did you you were complete?
Actually, I mentioned those two. There's a third one I should mention. There's also imagination, which is neither past nor future. It's all sort of like at right angles to it. But anyway, the point is not here and now. So there's a separate relation there that I am aware of. And much of the time, I am painfully aware of it. I can see it happening, but it doesn't seem to be much that I can do at that time. And certainly trying to stop it is just exacerbating the problem. So that's the separation of which I speak.
Well, that's pretty clear for now. There wouldn't be much use in going farther with it. What happens with you when the noticing of that takes place? Whether it be, I don't know quite what you mean painfully aware, but when you are aware of the voice that keeps saying, jump off a cliff, dummy, or whatever I had to hit the cliff with another little joke there. I have to wear it out down to nothing since he won't let me use that joke anymore. So what happens when that takes place, Timothy?
My experience is, the only word I've come up with recently is inauthentic. And it's not necessarily like, in fact, it's so jump off it, but most of the time the voice is extremely reasonable. But it's still a block between me and actually being alive.
Yes, and the only silencer of it is when a truth is spoken, because then there isn't what is it called? There isn't an opposite, and there's no argument, and it's a completion of something. Have you had that experience?
Inadvertently, I might have, but I never really noticed it actually occurring that way. I have noticed silences occurring either just by fluke, or occasionally I can sort of push myself over a sort of an imaginary line into a place of silence for a couple of minutes. But not as you've described, the speaking of a truth creating that silence. I haven't.
Well, the probability is that that's what happened prior to. It's sort of a strange. Hello, Joe Bridges. Welcome. It's sort of a strange thing, Timothy, in that it needs to be noticed as so that the result of it can be noticed. Do you see? Once the result is there, then it has a certain level of difficulty discovering what it was that happened right before the silence was there. In other words, what caused or created the silence?
Well, what I have learned, I guess you could say, is that when there is that silence, that me asking myself, how did I get here? How can I get here again? How can I stay here? Is about the worst thing I could be doing as far as that silence is concerned.
Yes, if there really isn't an opposite, but if there was an opposite, then that would be the opposite of what you actually need to do, for sure. It's a nod of the head, perhaps, is the maximum that needs to be done. By that I mean a nod of the head by virtue of the fact that the silence is there, or that you are without the voice in the background.